2023年8月8日から9日にかけて、かつてハワイアンキングダムのキャピタルだったマウイと海辺のラハイナの町を焼き払った大火災。地元住民はすべてを失いながらも必死で声を上げ、大きな力に立ち向かっています。
The Maui Emergency Siren and Alert System, one of the largest and most advanced in the world, was purposely not used.
I do not know why it didn't have any warnings. The authorities claim that the siren is only for tsunamis. But there's so many families that died because they were sleeping. They didn't know. A siren would have at least tell them, hey, something's happening. No text messages, nothing, absolutely nothing.
That the sirens were deliberately not activated. And there was a Maui Emergency Management Agency Administrator, Herman Andaya. It was his decision not to sound the sirens.
生き残った人々の証言から警察が逃げ道を塞いでいたことが分かってきました。
And the police force blocked the roads out of Lahaina.
That's when I decided to leave the vehicle completely. All of those cars were still sitting there, just same exact spots. It's like two police vehicles parked kind of nose to that exit for Front Street, kind of at a V like this. The traffic had basically bottlenecked right there. So there were cars in both lanes trying to go north by this point. But everyone was stopped on Front Street right there.
At the exit, a policeman standing there. And the guy said to the policeman, there's a fire. The fire is coming. You got to let these people go. I've got orders. We need to investigate that. Who is giving these cops orders? Our end of Front Street was blocked, bringing them in that way, and then blocked this way. It's obvious we were intentionally trapped. Listening to all the policemen that were out there, I would have been dead, like most of my other friends and relatives.
Thank God. Wow. I can't believe how... Whoa! Dude!
Milo, put your earbuds in.
It's just... Wow.
Oh, we're trying to get there, honey. I can't...
Fine.
We're fine. Just have to
Be
get
all
out
right.
of this traffic. Oh, no. So you'll know.
It's gonna be fine. The firemen are right here. They're not gonna let...
They're not gonna let anything...
Oh. Yeah, just put your phone down. I'll video. Okay, moving a little bit. That's good.
That's good. Well, now we got out of the danger stuff.
There's another engine.
We're not letting anyone up. We're just trying to get out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, fire truck. It's all you. Get 'em, boys. It's freaking nuts. Now we're out of it.
We can see now.
Okay.
I can't believe that. It was
Holy.
like black. That was crazy. Wow.
Ooh.
We're good now.
Yep, we're good. We're out.
Damn.
That was
That was
intense.
a little scary for a minute.
Oh shit, the road's closed. It's closed straight. Oh, and this poor guy has to direct traffic.
Oh, wow. There's another engine. That's good.
The only ones to escape the fires and survive either disobeyed law enforcement or jumped into the ocean.
消防士たちが消火活動するにも水が出なかったという信じられない話まであります。
The fire hydrants ran dry.
I've heard is that they pulled the water out of the pipes to fight the fires, and then they put the water back in the pipes or from some other source, and now it's toxic. This guy is in charge of the water. I guess the water that he didn't release from one network into another network so that they could draw more water to douse the fire. He said, no, I'm not opening the spigot. And that limited the water resources of the upcountry and this side fires.
I heard 10 firemen died. It's not firemen's fault. Yeah. They didn't have access to water. Water was shut off. Firemen died.
ハワイは沖縄のようにアメリカ軍基地が集中しているのに軍の援助もなかったとローカルたちが話しています。
And the next day I came back to get my animals, and I saw all the vehicles that I was like standing in traffic to escape town. They were still in there, all burned down. And it was only locals pulling bodies out of the water and pulling people out of the water because we had no help.
What we had and what we owned is all gone. We had no warning, no sirens, no police going around and telling anybody to evacuate. Nothing.
They didn't sound a siren. There was no helicopters that came. There was no warning. Fires went from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock at night going. No military came. The whole community is mourning the deaths of over 1,500 people. They killed innocent men, women, and children by not helping, by not sounding alarms. People were asleep in their homes with their babies and their children. We still have no spectrum cable, no internet. We're not seeing anything. Everyone else around the world knows what's happening except for us.
アメリカ政府が底辺の国民を助けるつもりなどないことがよくわかります。
FEMA took away all the stuff that the local people was giving out on the side of the road and said, no, okay, it's we're going to take over. Yeah, they took over. These guys went down to Lahaina with a lowboy with all the water and all the stuff, and they hoarded all of that stuff. They took it away from everybody. And then they wonder why nobody believes in Red Cross and FEMA and all these guys.
Well, Central Kitchen is one relief group that comes in early for helping with disaster relief and stuff like that until the big guys come in and take over.
死者の数が明らかにおかしい。
Many of the locals saw the government-approved death count of 115 casualties as a cruel and disrespectful lie.
No, there's no way. There's more than that. I say between 1,000 to 2. It could be plus. We don't know because we didn't have the warning.
I think it's in the thousands. They brought in like 500 body bags. The guys in the water was at least 200-300 people in the water. Come on, do the math. I mean, there's piles and piles of bodies laying all around. That's more than 100. Come on, man.
So you think they're lying about it?
Yes. They're not going to tell that there's like 3,000 bodies.
And there are many more people missing than say, the county mayor, Maui County Mayor, Richard Bisson, has said that 850 people are missing, which is less than the 2,000 that were originally claimed to be missing. And he is now admitting that there are many children in that figure.
火災から逃げ出した住人たちが町へ戻ろうとして逮捕される。
U.S. military personnel are currently occupying all the entrances into the burnt-down community and not allowing residents to visit their own homes. I was only able to get in by climbing a fence and barricade out of view of guards.
Technically, we're not supposed to be here. Media is not allowed to enter this zone without an escort.
You guys are redirecting traffic. All these roads are closed. There are cops every couple hundred feet.
被災者たちが道やビーチで寝ているというのに、ローカル政府はラハイナの町を取り囲むフェンス作り。
The government was busy installing brand new blackout fencing miles around the entire community. The government says these fences are being erected in order to respect those lost in the fire. But seeing how photos of the ruins circulating online fueled criticism of the government and even questions about the true nature of the fire, these fences were a form of censorship, a type of aesthetic and visual censorship to prevent further public outrage and criticism of the government.
地元の人たちはハワイ州知事が火災の3週間前に緊急事態宣言にサインしたことも疑問視しています。
Governor of Hawaii, Josh Green, passed an emergency declaration 3 weeks prior to the fires.
I am testifying on my concerns of the governor's emergency proclamation that happened 3 weeks prior to the fire and how it suspended 7 state statutes, of which exonerated everything that you guys are in charge of. To my knowledge, this was the first emergency proclamation in the country that didn't have a preceding incident. Normally it's like a hurricane, boom, we got an emergency proclamation. But this was just, from my knowledge, was just to streamline development on Maui, and it is allocated all decision-making power to one person, the housing officer of the governor, Nani Medeiros, who's unelected.
ハワイではすでに大金持ちたちによる島や海の購入、プライベート化が問題になっています。
Locals fear that the same mainland developers and billionaires that have been eyeing their oceanfront community for decades will finally get their way and take advantage of the crisis.
Make sure that the displaced families can go back home one day.
There's a lot of real estate speculation happening right now that is really frustrating. And I just want to remind all you real estate investors around the world, like Lahaina is not for sale. Please don't reach out to these families and take advantage of them during the most devastating time of our lives.
Things will never be the same, never. A lot of realtor agency trying to offer them money to buy their property. And that's very disappointing. They want to offer them very little money and sell it for millions.
There's a lot of fears that people have about losing their lands, losing their family, their homes. Even if their home didn't burn, they're also afraid that this area will be rebuilt in the most, corporate mini mall type fashion you can think of, big, massive development style that doesn't serve the needs of the locals at all, and there's a lot of concern around that.
Oh boy, it's going to be a mess. It's never going to be Lahaina again, never. That's going to be the old Lahaina, and that's sad, because the old Lahaina was really nice, beautiful, and heartwarming, and Lahaina ain't coming back.
And I want to know when we get to go back to our home in Waianae. Maybe it's gone. We need to go back there. Are you guys going to just scrape it all away and say disaster zone? And America's going to get what they want, their satellite city? Because this was planned years ago. It's now happening. And all the poor people, the homeless, the hardworking people of the hotels, the kapuna, we lost everything. We couldn't even have our pastor come in and ask us if we need prayer in the very beginning. But Oprah could come in. Who is she? Who is she? We also don't need people like Kaina Shiki telling tourists don't come to Maui. Because some of us, thousands of us, work in the hotel industry. They pay our mortgage. They give us our medical. And the medical, besides the county, is pretty good for somebody old like me. So don't go tell tourists don't come Maui because you're not speaking for us, the working people. You're speaking for yourself. Tourists come, we love you. We have aloha because you will be helping us, the lower people. The grains of sand of Maui is what we are. We're not the ones living up in Laniapoku. Not one of those houses burned. Puamana is still there. Lahaina Shores is still there. Everything beyond the Civic Center is there, but the homes where we were working, where we were scraping, where we had less than $1,000 a month to pay for our basic needs of gas and food. We busted our ass, and this is what we get. Nobody called us. Our phones didn't work from 5 in the morning. The fire was not 10 o'clock when I went to work. The fire was still there. There was no water. Tell me if that's coincidence. No water, no warning. And everybody talking about the satellite city before the fire. Lahaina gonna be the first satellite city. Well, hey, Jeff Bezos, you got what you wanted. Oprah, you got what you wanted. And the guy who owns a nut, you got what you wanted. Because all we got so far was $700 that we don't know who to call or anything.
FEMA also authorized one-time payments of $700 per household to folks who've been displaced so they can do the immediate things of just taking care of medications and prescriptions that they so badly need.
アメリカには信じられないほどのホームレスの人々がいます。国や州は解決策として人々がホームレスにならないシステムを作るのではなく、とんでもない方法で対処しています。
Many of the more recent homeless here in Honolulu came after receiving a one-way ticket from the mainland.
Homeless people from the mainland take one-way flights to Hawaii.
There are untold numbers of homeless people who are in Lahaina who cannot be identified. Probably their names are probably not even known. There was a dirty little secret of other states giving their homeless one-way tickets to Hawaii to just get rid of them. And so we ended up having quite a few homeless people on Maui. And the firefighter that I spoke to said that he had come across at least 100 bodies, most likely all homeless people who were unidentifiable.
長い間の環境破壊も大火災に発展した要因の一つだと見られています。
Lahaina used to be called the Venice of the Pacific. It was so wet and there were so many streams flowing through it that kept the grounds moist, kept the plants juicy, and all of that's dried out because that water has been redirected to golf courses and resorts. At an even larger scale, the nearby island that you can see right over there used to be verdant and lush and green. And that created a pocket between Maui and the next island over that would trap moist air, keep the western end of Maui much wetter and more humid. From the 30s through the 80s, the U.S. Navy bombed the surface off of that island, so it's a barren rock now and it doesn't retain anything. And the moist air just keeps right on cruising. So that helped dry this area out. So you've got military involvement with the long-term impact of plantation farming that just merged straight into the resorts and the golf courses and stuff. There used to be a giant pond in the middle of Lahaina that's been drained and filled over. That was the original seat of the king. But all of, that whole fish pond was drained and filled over. As far as most of the locals, like the native locals are concerned, this is basically a war crime after a couple of hundred years of being either a colonial darling or a state when it's convenient, but never really to the benefit of the natives. It was always to the benefit of offshore interests.
アメリカのお金持ちのお金持ちによるお金持ちのための政策に多くのアメリカ人たちが声を上げ出しました。
I mean, Oprah is worth $2.5 billion, Chrissy. So I don't know how you even spend $1 billion. Could you imagine? $1 billion is $1,000 million.
That's insane.
How do you even spend that? You could buy $1 million house every day for 1,000 days. Why do they need? Why don't you call on your other billionaire friends to donate some money? Why are you calling on regular people to donate money? People who are all living paycheck to paycheck. Why wouldn't you call up all your rich friends? She knows all the richest people in the world.
People have done research on this fund that she started, People's Fund of Maui, and they found out it's under the umbrella like a foundation called EIF, Entertainment Industry Foundation. It's not even something that just her and The Rock put together. And they looked at their taxes. President of the company, I wrote this down, makes $423,000. The president of this non-for-profit fund, this foundation, makes nearly $500,000. And then the CEO makes $359,000. Ain't that nice? But our money, or it's not because not a lot of people have donated, which is amazing. But these people are asking us as Americans who can barely afford their bills to pay into a foundation where your two top people, first one 423, second one 359,000. Like the next 10 people make over 200,000. Like the next one is 289. I am so happy right now that people are waking up to the ridiculousness. And it's the powers that be, the wealthy, it's the politicians. This is something we all should be able to unite on. I think we are. I have hope we have finally found something that we can all agree on and unite. The only reason these people have this much money is because of us. So let's stop giving it to them and take away their power and get ours back.
Oprah and The Rock, they decided they're going to start themselves a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 to help the people of Maui, right? And to get it started, they both decided we're going to put in $5 million apiece, $10 million in total, just to start it. And then they go to the public and ask for the rest. And then you realize, oh, by the way, they're going to get their $5 million back. Why? Because it's a charitable donation and they get to write it all off, right? So then what happens to the rest of the money? Well, in a nonprofit, right, a 501c3, only about 35% actually goes towards the thing you're trying to fund. The other 65% is pocketed by the organization in order to keep the organization going, i.e. back into Oprah and The Rock's pockets, right? So basically they did a good faith gesture to write themselves a blank check later. And it's not just by the people who donated, it's also by the U.S. government. Why? Because the U.S. government pledged $95 million to the people of Maui, right? And when they pledge money like that, they don't just go around handing it out to people. No, they hand that money to the organizations working in that area, right? The very first organizations to get their money are the non-profits. So all they have to do is apply for the money and they will get it. Now, I'm not sure how much they can get out of the $95 million, But because it has their names attached to it, it's going to be quite a substantial amount. So again, a good faith gesture to write themselves a blank check later. Well, Oprah has about 1,000 acres of land. By my research, it's a lot more. It's 1,870 acres of land. But when you go back into any of the interviews where she's talking about it, she makes it a point to say that it's a farm, it's a ranch, right? That's very important. Why? Because things classified as farms or ranches pay significantly less taxes. But also, the second group of people to receive money whenever there's a huge donation for like a disaster like that, small businesses, okay? Guess what a farm constitutes in America? A small business. So again, Oprah gets to write herself a blank check based on 1,000 acres of farm.